Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's been a few days. I am still in the hotel. Looks like my apartment will not be ready until I think about two and a half more weeks we have. So we're just gonna have to weigh it out and make the best of the situation. I do want to talk about some brief world global layouts that I'm seeing. And I've also worked on future events because I received a huge download of information, and the timeline color for me is no longer baby blue or a deep electric blue. It is now turned into a lime green. I think every reader or person who can go into the auric fields, energy fields, may see something different based on their own auric color, but what I'm seeing for the next upcoming year is lime green. I don't know why, I just want to share that. So in this video, I'm going to cover things I'm seeing current, but in my next video, I'm going to put out this huge download dump. I feel like it's a dump and it just needs to be released regarding the United States and the UK and Europe and a few other areas around the world as well. Okay. So for those of you who live in Turkey, in the country Turkey, I do see conflicts between Turkey and Iran. There is going to be a collapse of the EU. The crisis in the EU is worse than many people realize. And we know that Turkey is part of the EU. So Iran and Turkey, they're going to have their own related problems, is what I'm seeing there. And it feels to be unavoidable at this point. And I feel like this is going to happen sooner than later. It is just something I see coming. The war with Iran will not end in a few weeks or a few days. It's very similar to what we see in Ukraine, but different, in different mindsets, meaning different types of explosives, different types of techniques, different world leaders. So it's a little different, but it's going to be drug out. I'm not saying it's going to be as drug out as Ukraine and Russia, but it's going to be similar in some ways, okay? And I believe now we can expect protest and unrest taking place from all over the world, especially the West and the Middle East. The West covers, again, the United States, Europe, UK, and then we have all of the Middle East. And here's something else I'm going to share. I believe a globalist plan is currently being implemented in order to restructure the world and redistribute the economic system. So I believe a globalist plan is currently being implemented in order to restructure the world and redistribute the economic system. Think of it as off payment of oil. The main reason they, as in the globalists, want this to happen, it is really, in my opinion, and I've been saying this since this war started with Iran and Israel and the United States, is to end the petrol system for oil dollar. It is to end the petrol system, and that's what I see. I could be wrong, but I think Iran is going to strangle the West economically, and I'm going to stick with that. Okay. In the near future, Europe may find countries. Now, this is quite interesting. In the future, Europe may find countries in the Middle East to collab and partner up with. So, for example, you have Iraq, you have Syria. There could be something, perhaps a EU country starts to collab and talk to them and work something out as the US distances themselves. I'm not necessarily seeing the UK, but it's possible. It's very possible. The United States of America will try to distance from Europe. And this is where I see the collapse of NATO. And when I say collapse, I don't mean it's done and over with. It's almost like a collapse to restructure, a reform. It's more of a reform there. But once we start seeing some of these European countries collab and work with the Middle East, the United States is already trying to distance themselves. So is the UK and some other areas around the world are trying to distance themselves from the United States, but there's going to be different allies, different collabs, things like that. The dollar and the cryptocurrency are also merging into some support. Okay, so the dollar and the cryptocurrency are merging into some support. And honestly, the dollar is, in my opinion, it's already in early stages of becoming unusable or unstable to its equivalent, or you could say divergence. I don't necessarily see a crash, but the markets are hanging. They're hanging due to stagnation. And it's not just from the Iran war conflict. This goes back to the Biden administration, but it's just getting worse. This is why Trump is put in this position. We don't like what we're seeing. Call it the way you will. I'm just the messenger, but he is here to destruct and tear the system down. And then you have other countries helping him do it, like Iran, by strangleholding us with oil. Now, I do see a lot of chaos, especially in the United States coming up. Yeah, I do. More within the states, more within the people, not necessarily outer influences causing the chaos, but people within the United States. I was also being shown a coup could be expected in America's future. A coup. I did see that in America's. I don't want to put a timeline on that. I'm just going to say future there. And without fear baiting, we should always prepare as a precautionary. Now, if and when China goes after Taiwan, I do see Japan will step in and fight for Taiwan. When it comes to the country Ukraine, I am seeing a coup created by the West. Maybe the USA, but I do see a coup being created by a Western country. I believe this is going to be done in order to seize power and to remove Zelensky's regime. Now, in return, certain parts of Ukraine will be used as agriculture, because oil can't go far forever, right? So we use agriculture as a backup plan. And I think the US is going to use certain parts of Ukraine. I'm even seeing certain countries connected to Europe that may have a hand in this in a different way. And then I see Russia taking and claiming their territories. I don't know how all that's going to work out, but that's what I'm getting. But I believe they're doing this primarily to seize power and to remove Zelensky's regime. That's the number one plan. And I believe by the first of the year, say by the first of 2027, there will be some endings with the conflict in Ukraine and Russia. It'll slow down or be completely done. I hope I'm right. And that'll be great. But in the meantime, in 2026, the regime could most likely change and be done in 2026 at some point. Now we're moving on to NATO. When it comes to NATO funds, I do see them running out, and the United States will stop supplying funds. Not to mention, we don't really have the money to supply. I'm going to be honest, we don't. But I do see the US halting there. NATO will slowly fade. But again, it's not a total collapse. It will be reformed in some way. I do see Hungarian nation, or the Hungarian people, could completely pull out of NATO, and maybe the United States will partially pull out. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out. And I want to say something that I was getting. The current regime in Ukraine wants to turn countries against America. That's another thing that they're starting to find out. And I've been saying this as well. Ukraine wants to turn EU countries especially, and some Middle Eastern countries against America. And this is the main reason America will handle Ukraine one-on-one. So even though you have Russia in there, I do see America stepping in and dealing with this regime on their own, because they're learning a lot of information is coming out about the deep state, like the deep swamp, has done a lot of bad things there, and it's coming out. And I've been saying that, but that's what I'm getting, guys. It's a very short video, but I will be putting out another video where I'm more able to relax and put this stuff. I have a lot of stuff I want to share with you guys, especially it's just some of this has to do with the Epstein files, and there's just names. When I was doing my research, these names lit up in my third eye, and I could be wrong on this, but I also looked at the astrology and it matches. But I'll be putting that video out here hopefully in a few days. So thank you guys so much for supporting me. The one way you can support me through this time is to just watch the videos all the way through, hit the like button, hype them, and that gives me more algorithm and it helps out. During this time where I'm in the hotel and stuff, it really helps. I don't want to lose my viewers. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for listening.